afternoon. I'm Greg Lassiter. Welcome to 30 Frames a Second. We have a great show for you today. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
With each search, we train it to be better. Sometimes we're typing a search and it tells us the answer before you've finished asking the question. You know, who is the president of Kazakhstan? And it'll just tell you. You don't have to go to the Kazakhstan national website to find out. A neural net is something very close to a simulation of how the brain works. It's very probabilistic, but with contextual relevance. The average person, they don't see killer robots going down the streets. They're like, what are you talking about? Man, we want to make sure that we don't have killer robots going down the street. Once they're going down the street, it is too late.
Welcome back. As you know, I'm Greg Lassiter, and who do I have with me? The man.
Put my clothes on.
I got the man who makes this all happen, the great Nat Wood. Nat, what's up, buddy?
Hey, brother, how you doing? Oh, good.
We always catch him like that. But always want to put on his clothes. That means you're always taking them off.
That's right. That's by request.
By request. Yeah, okay, we won't even go there.
Let me see.
So, Nat, let's start this off. Let's go from backwards.
Let's start at the beginning.
We'll start at the beginning.
Right.
Well, the beginning was Trayvon Martin.
Right.
Okay, if you guys
Actually, the beginning was a prelude to everything.
Right.
A warning to us from David H. Let me look at this stuff.
Your mic.
Oh, my mic?
I'm sorry. Keep talking.
I'm sorry. Well, they don't hear me. What difference does it make?
Okay. Well, they can hear me. Trayvon Martin.
I'm sorry. Lights. Yeah.
You know, he's done this once or twice, but he forgot to turn it on.
I'm like Stevie. I don't see lights.
Okay. Trayvon Martin's assassinator, the guy who assassinated. Assassinator.
Yeah, Terminator. right.
The assassin.
Zimmerman. George Zimmerman.
George Zimmerman. George Zimmerman. Thank you. You're my shot. George Zimmerman are suing Trayvon Martin.
You can move. You got a robot camera.
Okay.
But no, that's okay.
So
That's,
Trayvon Martin
stay in the middle. Stay where you're at.
Okay.
Yeah.
Guys, we're supposed to have this already done. Now, follow me.
It's live. Okay, go on.
Okay. Zimmerman is suing Trayvon Martin's family for $100 million.
Yeah.
That's ignorant.
No, you ain't got to worry about me. I'll look at myself and judge. Okay, I look good. I'm good. Good looking out. Yes, he's suing a whole bunch of people, specifically Trayvon's mother and a lot of other people for a total of $100 million.
He's a moron. He's a true moron.
He is a moron. I expect the justice system would throw the case out, you know.
But what do you even think? What would make him even think he has a chance to do that? Is it that? That's that white supremacy thinking.
Well, yes, white supremacy thinking. Although he's a total ass,
right?
So he's not really what true white supremacists have in mind when they talk about white supremacy.
Right.
I like the headroom. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I'm talking to people who like, fixing stuff. It's a live TV show. As I was saying, he's desperate because he's like, excuse me, a doof-ass.
Right.
And he has not been, he's violent also, so he's run into problems with his girlfriends.
Right, he's a psychopath.
He's an idiot.
Yeah.
And he was empowered and emboldened by white supremacy. What happened?
Fix your tie.
Oh, fix my tie. I have a woman director, and she, I wear a suit when I come here, but I'm really very rough, rugged, and raw.
That we don't need to know, but keep going. TMI.
And George Zimmerman has had trouble fitting into society because, first of all, he is not a good boyfriend. He's not a good neighbor. He's not a very bright person. He gets into arguments a lot.
Right.
His earning potential is way in the toilet. Zero. And he needs some fun. So he's able, because of his notoriety, I won't say celebrity.
But because he thinks, I bet you his ideology is maybe if I sue him for 100, he'll settle for something. They'll settle.
Ain't nobody gonna settle with him.
I wouldn't settle for anything.
I think he has attorneys that see an opportunity to get their name in the paper by associating themselves with such a famous or infamous case as
Right.
the Trayvon Martin case.
Right.
I don't see what beef he has. They said something about the woman that said she was on the phone wasn't really the woman. There was like, you know.
His case was defamation.
He was found not guilty.
Right,
What
right.
is, you know,
Right.
all of his problems stem from his behavior.
Right.
Subsequent to the case, none of his problems stem from the case itself.
Right. It was his doing which got him to where he is. It wasn't something that the case did. It was like you say. It was his
He's
actions.
an asshole.
Yeah, he's an asshole.
He's an
right.
asshole.
Right.
If he wasn't such an asshole, you know, I mean, Bernie Getz was an asshole.
Right.
But after he was acquitted, he didn't go out and do more asshole stuff.
Right,
He kept
right.
a low profile.
Right, that's right.
If Zimmerman had kept a low profile, first of all, he has something that Bernie Getz didn't have.
Right.
In that Fox News adopted Zimmerman.
Right.
You know, he was like the pro-police guy.
Right.
So they adopted George Zimmerman, but Zimmerman is an asshole.
Right.
He would get into fights and arguments with people that he got into, like arguments on the highway with.
Right. Road rage.
Road rage.
Right.
He'd go into some road rage stuff and pull guns out.
Well, the guy he got in road rage with because of him, the guy got 20 years
Yeah.
on a road rage.
Yeah.
Right?
No, then he had a girlfriend. He got another girlfriend, you know, and beat her ass.
Right.
You know?
Right. Domestic violence. Right.
Yeah, you know.
So.
Oh. No, I didn't want to be in this shot. You know, it's just my fans. No, but no, this is serious. George Zimmerman.
Right.
George Zimmerman. Whatever problems he stemmed, it stems from his dysfunctional personality.
Right, and his attitude.
His attitude. His attitude.
And then you know what? I figured this is why the more publicity he has, he figured somebody wants his story and he'll get paid for it. Since he has zero earning potential.
He has zero story left.
Right, it's done.
With the way he's behaving.
Right.
I mean, he could have had a story, but Fox News tried to factor in the story because Fox News is so anti-black.
Right. Anti-brown, anti-black.
Anti-black, anti-brown, pro-white supremacy.
Pro-white supremacy, right.
That Hannity man is just an abomination.
What happened to facts? What happened to reporting facts?
Well, it's pundit controlled.
But to have someone, but see, the thing of it is, we've gotten so far away from facts. Even when you point facts out to people in Fox News, they're trying to spin it.
Because it doesn't fit their agenda.
Right.
Fox News has an agenda. It's not a news. Fox News is an oxymoron.
A news organization, right? It's not a news organization.
It's
right?
It's not a news organization. It has a specific agenda.
Right.
It targets a specific market.
Right.
You know.
Right.
The less educated, the better.
Right. Believe what I tell you.
Right.
Just like our president.
The more racist, the better.
Right.
They try to tell you that all of the people who voted for Trump weren't racist. In point of fact, they weren't all racist in that sense.
Right.
However, anyone who voted for Trump falls into basically two categories.
Right.
Out and out racists,
Right.
or people who are prepared to tolerate a little racism and a little white supremacy,
Right.
if they figure that they can make a buck out of it.
Absolutely.
You know,
absolutely.
if I can make a buck out of them killing all of y'all,
But you know
then,
what?
you know, it's nothing personal.
But look at the black people that subscribe to the Fox organization.
They are hoping that the white man, their massa, will think favorably, and they might be able to get something out of it.
That's crazy.
Most of them are underachievers.
Right. Candace Owen.
Underachiever.
Very much so.
But white supremacy, acclamation of white supremacy got her paid.
Right. I guess paid,
shilling for white supremacy has gotten her paid.
Well, paid is a matter. You know what? It depends on what you say. Paid. She has a job.
She married a British hedge fund guy.
Right.
So she went to Sally Hemings' way.
Right.
Well, there are certain slavery has defined roles for different people.
Right.
Most of us just adhere to those defined roles in perpetuity.
Right.
We've been handed those rules generation after generation. If you remember, the show started, the opening started not with Trayvon Martin or with Charles Schwartz. It started with a quote from D.H. Lawrence.
D.H. Lawrence, right.
The quote was, men win liberty with wars of hard knocks.
Right.
You know.
Right.
Their children grow up easy and give it all back. And their grandchildren go back to being slaves.
Right, that's exactly right.
Now, D.H. Lawrence, if you want to talk about like personalities, because there are a lot of black folks, especially black folks who call themselves the new leadership.
Right.
But they're not.
Pundits.
They're not. Because they're not leading anybody anywhere.
But themselves.
Yes. They're
and
trying
what's
to
in
get
it for
paid.
them?
They're trying to get paid.
Right.
But D.H. Lawrence was born in 1885. He was from Britain. He died in, I think, 1930. He was about 45 years old when he died. He actually died an outcast and whatnot. He was one of those people who thought modernity.
Right.
You know, he feared technology, the technology of the day, and he feared that it was causing man to lose his humanity. Now, granted, this is 1885. He's a white man. He was scorned. He actually died in France in exile. He was scorned as just a whore, a pornographer. Well,
that's true. That is true.
They ran him out on a rail, and he ended up dying relatively young. Even for 1885. However, that does not invalidate what he said, and we need to learn from those people who hate us, probably even more so than we need to learn from those people who profess to care about us.
Right, that's exactly right. Well said. That is well said.
You need to learn what your enemies are doing.
That is well said.
Know.
Like that old saying, keep your friends closer and your enemies closer.
Any sports team is studying their opponent.
Right, always.
They're going through tapes. They're seeing what he does, all his strengths, all his weaknesses, understanding his communications. They're trying to steal signals.
But that's what
Belichick is famous for that.
But that's what happened to the black community. We stopped learning.
Well, once again, hey, you know.
Okay.
Uneasy lies the head. Not just that we stop learning, but there are specific roles that each of us were given in captivity.
Right.
Most of us never got away from those roles.
Right, that's right.
You know, there are roles. There's as far as black women are concerned, I don't want to try to advise black women as to what they should do.
Right.
You know, and there are a lot of guys who are talking about the fact that Miss Universe, Miss Teen,
Right.
all of those people this year were black.
Right.
You know, as a matter of fact, Miss Universe was South African.
South African, right.
And they made a point of talking about the fact that white men are telling them that they're beautiful. We always knew and we should. But in captivity, and the black man has a whole lot of problems. We got problems. He plays his role also.
Right.
So while we're trying to fix the black woman, we actually need to heal ourselves. Physician, we need to heal ourselves because.
We have some major issues.
We have major issues. Have major issues, and we play our role so well that we are little more. We have become little more than atavistic, primitive, self-hating, uneducated savages. I mean,
but that's how they see us. That's how they see us.
But that is their justification for white supremacy in the first place.
That's correct. That's correct.
Black people, brown people, anyone other than white people are simply savages that need the guiding hand of white people. It's the white man's burden. It's the white man's burden.
That's correct.
And by becoming what we've allowed ourselves to become, we justify the things that he does. You know, he thinks he's
that
right.
means we're self-destructing. It's self-destructing.
Well, these are the roles that he assigned us to, and we have not broken those assigned roles in any significant way since they were assigned.
But that's getting worse and worse because.
Well, it is getting worse.
Because look at what we showed, school.
The school to prison pipeline.
Now
that
explain to our audience what that means, Nat.
Urban kids, black urban kids, black kids from places like Harlem, although all of these places are being gentrified. And we'll talk more about gentrification. I don't know if we'll get to it today, but we'll talk a lot about that, and our thinking of that, and how skewed and illogical it is. In terms of we are determined to escape the hood. Get out the ghetto.
Why not make our hood better instead of?
But you can't talk about escaping the hood, escaping the ghetto in one sentence, and then talk about gentrification in the other, because it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense,
Either it's the hood or it's you. Because white folks are not coming back to the ghetto. And they're not turning their community into ghettos. So obviously it's not the place.
It's not the
your
community.
Mentality.
It's the mentality.
And you are taking that mentality wherever you go.
That's
it's all in your music. No matter where you go, it's in the way you live.
Because
it's everything about you. So the demon that you are running from is the demon inside you,
That's
not
exactly
the demon that is the place that you live.
Because if you did not think you're trying to get out of the hood, that's a way of thinking. Because why is it, like you say, why are we trying to get out? Why are you trying to get out?
That is correct.
And white people are trying to get in.
That is correct. That's an
oxymoron.
That is correct. That is correct. Especially people who have been known to be the preeminent builders in the universe. I mean, when you look at the things we have built, designed, throughout history, you realize that the potential of the black man, of the indigenous people, is like off the hook, and the only ones who doesn't seem to know that is us.
Because you look at places like Caprini Green in Chicago, one of the worst projects in the country. Now they're condominiums.
That's right.
They're $500,000-$600,000 condominiums.
That's right.
You know. My thing is this: we have to change our way of thinking.
Correct.
If we don't change our way of thinking, We are already on this path of self-destruction. You look at our kids are going by, our kids are supposed to be our future. Our kids are supposed to be our future. And our kids are going straight from school to prison. And prison is not some place you get reformed, because you learn worse things in prison.
Well, prison. What you've learned, you kind of you get better at being your worst self in prison.
That's exactly right. Grayson, well said.
It's your worst self is more encouraged in prison than ever before.
Right.
Your violent self is more encouraged in prison. You need to be violent. You need to be atavistic just to survive.
Right.
But a lot of times there are situations that happen outside of prison that drive you to that awareness that you aren't aware of
right.
When you're going through it.
But you are doing that because
in your home life, in your community.
But that's knowing oneself. You're self-destructing. If you don't know oneself.
It's hard not to be a slave when you're raised on a plantation of slaves that are acclimated to slavery.
But at some point, that chain has to break. You have to break that chain.
There have been those who have seen the problem, fought against the problem, but they're an exception. They're exceptional people. They're not the rule, because the hardest thing to do is unlearn.
Right.
And we have been indoctrinated so ferociously that it's very difficult to unlearn. First of all, you have to admit that the people you loved and respected, a lot of them were wrong.
Right. Absolutely. That's the first thing.
And that's difficult. It's hard to tell somebody that they don't know, even though they know they don't know. They know they don't know.
But given today's mentality,
right,
it's a little different when we were growing up.
Yeah.
Because we didn't have access.
Correct.
But now that you have access, is that still an excuse? Or is it laziness?
No. Because it was very difficult for me. I'm a very late bloomer.
No, you're not. You grew up in a society where everybody in your family,
not within my immediate household.
Okay.
My immediate household was very much the slave colony.
Right.
They understood assigned roles, and it was a different time.
Right.
Those roles were accurate. You
Right.
know,
Right.
I was also raised in a household that was controlled by women.
Right.
And since it was not just controlled by women, but all the money had to come from women, and
Right.
the tutoring had to come from women.
Right.
And it was difficult, and it was in a time when it was difficult for black people all over.
Right. But you escaped, though.
Well, no, I didn't escape. And the reason why I didn't escape was I have a flaw, and my flaw is loyalty.
But you know what? You can still be loyal and still educate yourself as what you've done.
Yes, but I got to a place where, and again, I say it was later in life.
Right.
It was later in life. But I got to a place where I eliminated everyone and everything that could hold me back.
Right. That's a big deal. That's a big deal.
That is a big deal.
It's a very big deal.
That is something I could not do when I was younger, because it literally means getting rid of the people that you love the most.
Right.
It's a sacrifice. Because it's not a guarantee.
Right.
Because you eliminate everyone for the chance to learn new things.
And to
Not
better
for the
yourself. And have a
but
be-
it might not go that way.
But you know what?
It might not go that
No,
way.
well,
All the things I've learned to do I didn't necessarily have to learn them on the level that I've learned them. I literally went way deep within myself. First of all, what I had to my advantage since the day I was born was a knowledge and belief in myself that I could do anything.
Right. So was I.
No
More
matter
like that,
what
yeah. What they say.
no matter what anybody
right,
said,
right.
I knew that the people who were beating me
Right.
couldn't shine my shoes.
Right,
I knew
right,
that
right.
Instinctively.
Right. But it was a tip. But in your mind, then
but
it
I
was.
still had to prove it.
Yeah, but at the same time, you weren't stuck and go, this is just temporary. You knew that this was a purpose.
I always thought it was temporary.
Right.
I always thought that it only took this much of a crack in the wall for
Right.
me to bust through.
Right.
You know,
'Cause once you
Always
saw it-
knew that.
Right,
Always
right.
knew that. But that comes from the family I come from. There was encouragement, but it was not in my immediate
Right.
home.
Right,
It
right.
was love in my immediate
Right,
home.
right.
But it was my immediate home was very restrictive in
Why
terms.
do you think? Why do you think?
Because we have roles that we follow.
Now, let's talk about this.
And we have an acclamation of white supremacy that is embedded in us.
But let's talk about today's people. Today's people, okay, given the access that black people have today, and you're in the same situation. You in the same situation today, but you have access. So what stops you?
T.H. Lawrence. Remember
Goes back
the
to the slave.
pecking order.
Yeah.
Right. You have parents, you have people who fight hard battles to get you your liberty. Their children grow up spoiled and self-serving, and by the time they get to their grandchildren are slaves again.
But
no matter what you think of D.L. Lawrence,
Right. He was right. He was correct about that.
That is an accurate assessment
Very
of
much
what
so.
we have gone, what we
we're
are
dealing
going
through
through
right now.
Young people today.
Who do you blame?
Are more. Well, ultimately, I always
So-
take responsibility for myself.
Right.
I mean, a lot of the things that I allowed to happen to me, and I always say I allowed to happen to me because
likewise.
I am the stronger
Right.
one. You know?
No one can do anything to you unless you
That I don't
allow
allow
it.
it.
That's
That
exactly
I don't
right.
allow it.
That's
That
exactly
I
right.
don't allow it. I was stronger than all of them put together.
Right.
You know, I was young. You can bully someone and break their spirit when they're like little kids.
Right.
You know, but even as a little kid, I knew who I was.
Right, exactly.
You know,
Right.
you know. But I always believed in myself.
Right.
You
right,
know.
Right. So, but the thing of it is now.
So
We have to
I only had one of two options:
Right.
succeed or die.
Right, and you obviously succeeded very well, very well.
I'm still on a mission.
No, yeah, of course you are, but you have
I'll
to look-
never succeed because I'll never quit pushing.
But you've succeeded extremely well.
I've proven a few things to myself.
Right.
mo-
Yes, you have, brother. Yes, you
know.
have. Okay. Yes, you have. But that's what brings us forward to today's youth and thinking. And I don't even.
And I want to get in. I don't want to get away from DARPA.
Okay. Let's go to Charles Schwartz. Let's go to Charles Schwartz. Let's go to Schwartz.
Okay.
Charles Schwartz, back in 1996, along with Volpe. What was his name?
The police, the
police,
Dirty
and why-
30, they sodomized, violently
Sodomized.
raped and sodomized Abner Louima.
Right.
And they almost got away with it.
Right. The two cops, one cop, Schwartz pleaded guilty to
Volpe
got
pleaded
30 years.
guilty. Right, he pleaded
guilty.
Ultimately, he pleaded guilty to everyone,
Right, and
everything,
he got 30 years.
kind of got everybody off. But Volpe was one of the cops that was completely tainted by the whole
Right.
scenario.
He's the one who did it. actually did it.
Well, he got a job at Con Ed.
No, Schwartz got a job at
Schwartz.
Yeah,
Volpe was the guy who broke the stick off.
Right.
You know, and that's funny. Coming up, we used to say stuff like that, joking. Little did we know that there were people in the world who actually would do some stuff like that. You know, break a stick off in somebody's butt.
Yeah.
But Volpe actually did it. But there were a lot of cops who saw it happening.
And didn't do anything.
Do anything. As a matter of fact, the whole precinct is culpable because Volpe came out of the bathroom with the stick and literally told everybody, every policeman in the station.
Right. They were laughing about it.
Right. They laughed about it. So all of them should be like in jail forever because it is the most disgusting act humanly possible, and they all should rot in hell for doing this.
Absolutely. And Schwartz got 5 years in federal pen. For lying.
Correct.
But Schwartz came out of prison.
And he got a job at Con Ed.
Now, Con Ed decided that he was a bad PR nightmare.
Yeah, you were too hard to handle.
PR nightmare.
Right.
And
they let him go. They let him go.
But he tried to sue them.
And he tried to sue him.
And it
brings us back to Zimmerman's frivolous lawsuit.
Right. Which the judge.
Although it's Florida, it's country ass Florida, so I never know what they're going.
Yeah, nothing's taken for granted.
Right.
But he
hillbilly ass Florida.
The judge ultimately threw out the court.
Get out of here.
Right, with that.
Get the hell out of here with this.
But he kept quiet and went to work for NYCHA. Right.
NYCHA. Nightmare ass NYCHA.
Right.
You got a damn psychopath working in NYCHA.
He started out as a janitor.
100 G's.
Right. He started as a janitor.
You got buildings full of struggling black people and whatnot who has garbage heaped in. They can't get rid of the garbage. They're being lied to at every juncture, and they put this son of a gun.
Right. He started out as a janitor.
Right.
Now he's a carpenter. Right. Making six figures.
He's making 6 figures in NYCHA. In NYCHA that the city of New York is paying.
Right.
De Blasio, you ass bucket. You know, you really need to get your thing together and find out what's going on.
He's done.
Yeah, but he's done so much harm.
Right.
You know.
Like Trump.
And I know your son got an afro, yada yada yada.
Right.
But if it walks like a duck. Makes decision like a duck, it's a white supremacist. And they really need to get their thing together.
Right, because right now, NYCHA, New York City housing is probably one of the largest housing projects in the country.
Oh my God! But that brings us to the school to prison pipeline.
Right.
To the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, DARPA. To Google, DeepMind, AI. What is happening to us and what white supremacy, the functional systematic machine of white supremacy, the two levels are so completely skewed.
Right. But you know what it's doing ultimately is bringing slavery back into a form.
Yes, but what it's doing is making human beings completely irrelevant.
Right.
It's not just making slaves irrelevant.
Right.
It's making human beings irrelevant. So much so that dude, what was his name, Chang, who was running for president.
Right.
He was saying, just give him $1,000 a month and
we'll be done.
Because we really don't need him. Right.
This is an Asian guy.
But he's telling the truth. We don't need you people anymore.
Right.
I know you got your little socialist dreams and all of that stuff, but we don't need you people anymore. You've allowed the horse to leave the barn in such a degree that we simply do not need you people anymore at all.
Right. And he got away with saying that.
It's the truth, though. It's the truth. The dude who was talking about DARPA was Elon Musk. Elon Musk is
Tesla.
Tesla.
And SpaceX.
Now, when I talk about you need to come off of your pedestal long enough to listen to what the people you don't like are
Right.
doing and
Right.
saying.
This is one of them.
This is one of them.
Right.
Elon Musk was born in Pretoria, South Africa.
Right.
Okay. So just that alone
His way of
makes
thinking.
black people cringe.
Right, because his way of thinking is blacks are inferior to him.
Correct.
I've never been a fan of Elon Musk.
But this is what I'm saying. If you are basing your future on whether or not white people will change the way they think and the way they approach their thinking to you, you deserve what you get.
Right. That's exactly right.
Because you are going against an adversarial force that is not prepared to change. And you have to succeed in spite of that.
Right. That's exactly right.
So when they talk about only 26% of 8th grade black kids, urban black kids, are reading at or above reading level.
26%.
That is crazy.
That's crazy.
Because the school can't keep you from learning how to read.
Right.
Nobody can keep you from learning how to read.
Right.
They can give you stuff that you don't want to read.
Right.
They can give you a whole bunch of lies and historical stuff.
Right.
Fine. Read the damn comic books.
Right.
Whatever it is that you have to, all I'm interested in is the fact that you can do it functionally. I'm not talking about what you should read, what you shouldn't read.
Not what you can comprehend, but what you can read.
That is correct.
What you can actually read. Right.
Just because the school system, which is adversarial to you in the first place, is doing everything it can manage to do to return you to slave colonies, the penal institution, just because it makes it difficult for you to learn on a bunch of things. There are certain things you can learn in spite of the fact that your enemy is putting up roadblocks. But reading is one of them.
Right, but the map that's
I
laid
went to Catholic school.
Right.
I didn't want to read none of that stuff, but I love the X-Men.
Right. But you think about it. The plan is so simple because if I don't allow you to read, you're going to get frustrated. If you don't read, you're going to get frustrated.
But
you're going to drop out of school.
This is the thing. Break your spirit. Break your spirit.
Right.
Once your spirit is broken,
you're done.
There's no place to go but back to the plantation state of mind.
That's right. And that's what school, that's what they're trying to do. The plan is to break their spirit so you can get frustrated,
that
so
is
you
correct.
can go out and commit crime so they can put you in jail.
Reinforce the belief
that's correct
that they are instilling in you that you are really not educable, that you are a savage, that you are a savage, and we have reverted to our atavistic self. I mean, we are just busting people upside the head. We going to prison. In record numbers, we forming gangs in prisons. The things that we are doing is so far removed from who we are in terms of the way we are behaving, the art we are producing, the messages in the art that we are producing is so far removed from what it takes to succeed in this world, this technologically advanced world, that we are literally out of the loop. We are out of the loop.
But what I'm shocked by, I'm not going to say, with the resources that are out there today, there's no reason why you can't succeed.
Right.
Okay, yeah, we might need the mom and dad to give us a little bit of reinforcement.
Yes, we need all of that. But what I'm saying is that if they don't, the hell with them.
Right, you got to keep going.
Right. Mom will love you when you bring home the check and buy her a house.
Right.
She might not want you to do what it takes to make your dreams come true. However, even that love of mother, that love of wife, that love of community, nothing should impede you so much that you do not make a move.
That's exactly right.
The stakes are too high for you not to progress and be successful in what you do. The stakes are too high. Literally, they put the whole world on the table.
Right, and that's when I say, you know what, I am who I am, not because of, in spite of.
In spite of.
You know, I don't mean to hurt your feelings out there, my parentals, but you know what, like not saying.
And because of it.
Right.
And because of it. but you don't know it, and I do.
Right, right,
No matter
right.
what I do, I'm your child.
Right,
So
exactly.
I couldn't do it if
But
it
if it
wasn't
was
in
for-
you.
right, right.
You don't believe it's in me because you don't
didn't
believe
do it.
it's in you.
Right. And that's why I say, thank you, but I did it in spite of, like you did.
Right,
You know?
right.
You know?
Whatever marvelous thing is in your son, you should have seen it first. I
right.
am your son.
Right, that's
I
exactly
am
right.
your son.
Right.
Everybody else sees something in your son that you don't see.
Right.
And
Why do
nothing
you
can
think
be
that is,
in
Nat?
your son because they don't see it. Because there are assigned roles that
Nat,
we adhere to.
But Nat, is it that, or could it be a possible jealousy?
It's jealousy because in those assigned roles are reasons for jealousy. There, for women on the plantation, there were only two. First of all, all women in slavery, all of them had an assignment,
Right. Right.
to slow down the tempestuous nature of the black man.
Right. Right. And
Hold that in
that's-
abeyance.
That is fact.
If he gets out of control, it's going to be holy hell for you.
Right, that's
so
right.
you got to make sure that you hold his freedom,
right.
his hunger for liberty.
Right,
you
right.
got to hold that in abeyance.
Right.
There are only a couple of choice roles in captivity for women.
right.
That's the mammy and the side piece.
Right.
Everybody else is assigned work detail.
Right. That's exactly right.
So there are built-in jealousies in that pecking order. The mammy does not suffer the violence that work
Must
detail
suffer. Right.
and the side piece is the most influential person in the plantation system.
But yet the system still wants you to say you're still all slaves.
You're still all slaves.
Right.
Know your role.
Know your role.
So it's interesting, and we're running out of time,
Right.
and I really want to. We're gonna get more into this. We'll probably get more into this next week or
right.
whatnot. You know, because I want to talk about DARPA. I want to talk about Google,
Right.
about DeepMind.
But see, here's the thing with Google. Google is buying up all these companies. Google and Amazon.
Well, it's
Amazon.
interesting. Google in 2014, Google purchased
23andMe.
DeepMind.
And
DeepMind.
right.
Well, yes.
23andMe.
But the first thing they purchased was DeepMind.
Now, tell people what DeepMind is, please.
DeepMind is the neural net system. The neural net system is the brain of the computer.
Right.
That's where all the algorithms come from.
Right.
Well, when you see the Terminator, they talk about Skynet. Skynet will
Right.
not need you.
Right.
In,
Right.
That basically Skynet is an obsolete version of DeepMind.
Right.
Because
Because
they
Elon
purchased
Musk-
DeepMind. They purchased. But they purchased DeepMind from DARPA.
Right.
DARPA was funding DeepMind.
Right.
So if the United States defense system
Right.
will sell Google,
Right.
a neural net capable of controlling all of the computers on the planet,
Right.
it shows you how powerful the Defense Department is.
Absolutely, because you like Elon Musk says, we sit down and start typing Google.
Correct.
You don't have to go
Correct.
it already come up.
Correct.
This
Correct.
already
Correct.
processing what you're thinking.
Correct.
You know?
And a simple upgrade, and this is according to Elon
Right,
Musk.
right.
A simple upgrade is all it takes for DeepMind, which controls Google.
Right.
And in 2014, after Google bought DeepMind, it also bought all the AI programs
That goes
all
with-
over
that goes
the
with it.
world.
Right,
So
right,
it
right.
bought a whole bunch
Right.
of them.
They make them
Okay.
one-
So the
they-
power that Google
one.
has is incredible.
Right.
But it pales in comparison to the power at the disposal of the United States Defense
system,
Department.
right? It's even though the defense system, it's a bit archaic. You know,
Well,
but you think it's
The
archaic.
whole thing is interesting Remember, one of the most famous quotes of Eisenhower was, "Beware the military-industrial system."
Right, that's right.
You know why that's amazing? Is because he's the one who created the military-industrial system.
Yes, he did.
In 1957, the Russians launched Sputnik 1.
Right.
And in response to Sputnik 1, President Eisenhower, went full out Star Wars and started DARPA in 1958.
Right, that's right.
And they have been progressively getting more and more into artificial. It was full out Star Wars.
Right.
Right now,
we don't have
anything
a clue.
we don't have a clue.
Right. We don't have a clue.
We don't have a clue.
Right.
The only thing I'm gonna say is, all of that stuff that you watch on science fiction stuff,
it's true,
pales in comparison to
what's happening. What we have, our capabilities.
Our capabilities.
Right.
So we need to produce young people with advanced capabilities.
Right.
And instead, we are producing young people that cannot read on grade level.
Right, and that's crazy because
and are going to prison.
Because you see other countries, kids are learning coding at home.
That's the Asians, but other countries have some sort of pride that comes from a place other than the United States of America.
Right.
We, on the other hand, are just programmed to adhere to the will of the master and know our roles.
But why not? Before we go, I need to understand. You need to explain why we have all this access. Is it lazy? Is it lack of direction? What is it?
It's programming. It's programming.
But
It's programming that has been reinforced through violence and through reward.
But don't people wake up saying,
It's not just violence. It's violence and reward.
But there's no reward in violence?
No. Violence are for those who disobey, and reward are for some people who obey.
Right.
So you have a whole lot of retarded doofuses who are making a whole lot of money because if nobody wins, the suckers will never bet.
Right. That's exactly right. That's it. Perfect.
So it's like beating the hell out your wife.
Right.
After you beat the hell out your wife, you pet her.
Right.
You know.
We're not condoning violence, but you just analogy.
No, I'm saying that's the analogy. I'm not saying don't beat your wife.
Right.
You know, don't beat your wife. Don't kick your dog. Don't beat your
Definitely
children.
don't kick your dog.
You know. Well, white folks don't like that. White folks don't like
Don't kick your dog.
If your wife is black, they will forgive you for beating your wife, but they'll never ever forgive you for kicking your dog. You know, what's the football player? Michael Vick. They still have not forgiven him, but they did forgive Ray for punching his girlfriend out in the elevator. They've gotten over that. But the dog thing, white folks can't forgive that. What I'm saying is that the whole system of beating someone unmercifully and then using the mink glove is good psychological.
It's like the Stockholm syndrome.
Well, yeah, that's what it becomes.
It becomes the Stockholm
That's
syndrome.
what it becomes. That's what it becomes. There were Jewish Nazi collaborators.
Right.
They collaborated with the Nazis and actually reported other Jews to be interned at Auschwitz because there was a reward system, and the consequences of not acquiescing
was
worse than death because there was horrible torture before death. There were many Jews. Most Jews chose death. But there were collaborators. There were Judenrats. We are not the only species that has rats. Everybody has rats. But we are so programmed. We have become so programmed to following our roles. Following our roles. First you fight for liberty. then your children get spoiled. But how did they get spoiled? They get spoiled because after the losers, they acquiesce and they give up some stuff.
Right.
And the children of the people that they give stuff to start thinking they all that in a bag of chips.
Right.
You know, you cannot tell sports players that they owe anything to guys like Kirk Flood and Muhammad Ali.
Right.
They have no idea of what
how they
had to go through
Right.
in order for them to be to make $100 million playing basketball.
Right.
That it was not that long ago that blacks weren't even allowed in basketball, allowed in football, that they could not be quarterbacks for years and years and years.
In our lifetime.
Right, in our lifetime.
Right, in our lifetime.
That they were slaves to their sports teams before Kurt Flood challenged the antitrust laws in court. This is in our lifetime. This was in our lifetime. Our lifetime that I can remember, not our lifetime when I was a baby.
Right. You know, exactly.
Recently, now you have boxers who like earn $1 billion and just think they're just so much better than everybody else.
We're running out of time, guys. But listen, I want to thank everybody for watching us every week. We bring it to you live, and I'd say thank you. But before I turn this over to Nat, I want to say a happy birthday to a good friend of mine who passed away almost a year ago. Today's his birthday. I know you're up there watching over us. You've always watched 30 Frames, so Alonzo Bryant, I love you, man. Remember, I know you're here for me, and you know you always joked about Nat, how educated he was. But I miss you, and remember this, shoot for the moon. If you miss, you are still among the stars. Take us out, Nat.
Yeah, I don't think educated was exactly the point he was trying to make.
Yes, it was.
But I want to thank everybody for joining us. We have another show before the holidays. Obviously, we won't be here Christmas Eve or New Year's Eve. So we won't be live. We'll have programming on it, just won't be live. But we have thoroughly enjoyed this year. This has been a banner year. We're going to get more and more and more into what we were talking about in the months to come, subsequent to 2020, you know. And,
we did 49 shows this year.
Yeah, we did a whole lot of
49 live shows. Guys, you're watching us live. You're watching us live.
I just want to say peace. Thank you for joining in. We'll see you next week. We out.
Thank you.
DeepMind's AI has administrator-level access to Google's servers to optimize energy usage at the data centers. However, this could be an unintentional Trojan horse. DeepMind has to have complete control of the data centers, so with a little software update, that AI could take complete control of the whole Google system, which means they can do anything. They can look at all your data, you can do anything.